Well, everybody, Ross and the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe. West Ham, the under-18 Premier League Cup champions. Well done to the boys last night. 2-1 victory away to Reading, and a brace from Josh Ajala, which obviously, for me, sets up a nice bit of momentum going into the weekend. Obviously, the under-21s play Sunderland under-21s in the playoffs, the first sort of round of the playoffs. At Rush Green midday. Get your ass down there. I think it's £5 for adults, £1 for kids, as per usual, free if you're a season ticket holder. Anyway, that was brilliant. That was great, and it gives me a glimmer of hope. Gives me a glimmer of hope for the future of West Ham. However, the immediate future being next season. Yesterday we reported that Edson Alvarez has been told he can find a new club. 99% certain that Mohamed Kudus is leaving, and there's obviously the surrounding issues with Lucas Paqueta. I mean, whether they are in our hands in terms of him being found not guilty and being able to continue to play fresh football, and that in itself could lead to a move to Man City potentially, Flamengo, or it could be a case where he's found guilty, and then we won't have Lucas Paqueta anyway. And again, I think there's a high certainty that we won't see Lucas Paqueta in a West Ham shirt next season. I think it was Alex on his TikTok said that it was something like 17, potentially 17 players could be leaving. Now, I'm not saying 17 players are going to be leaving, but then the comments the last press conference, wasn't it, about the rebuild, and Potter saying he doesn't think it's going to be a major rebuild. What's your definition of a rebuild? I would say at least if a third of your squad's leaving, that's a rebuild. And straight away, we've probably got a third of our squad leaving already. We've got there's 5 players. We've got 5 players out on loan. 5 players out of contract. I would imagine Fabianski might get offered a new deal. Maybe Antonio. So maybe. Then you've got the 3 players out on loan. Zuma's gone. Aged could go, although I'd imagine I said he'll be back pre-season, and then I think he'd go if Potter doesn't fancy him. Freddie Potts will come back. You got people like Cam Swires out contracted for the under-21s. Doesn't really count towards the rebuild. But then you look at Kudus, Paqueta, Alvarez, Souček, Mavropanos. There was reports the other day of a swap deal with, was it Brighton? Adam Webster for Mavropanos. So I'd be up for that, to be honest. So is it a case that it's going to be, the last one that leaves another stadium switch the light off? And I think it ties in quite nicely, kinda with the success of the under-18s and the success of the under-21s this year. It's clear, based on, it's relatively clear, I'd suggest, that a number of those academy players will be having positions in the first team squad next season. We know Freddie Potts is really a first team player, but we know he's going to be more than likely involved in the first team squad next season. We know Ollie Scars is going to be involved in the first team squad. I would assume Lewis Orford will go out on loan. I would assume Caelan Casey will probably go out on loan. George Earthy potentially could come back into the squad. And then you're sort of looking elsewhere. We've still got the question mark about what's going to happen with Daniel Cummings from Celtic. Whether we've had no noise. We've led to believe that that's sort of behind closed doors been agreed, but it hasn't been announced because we've still got a few bits of the season still to go. So that's 4 potentially. I think and that's probably it, I'd suggest. I mean, people are going to say, what about Josh Ajala? I still think Josh is needs a lot of development. physically, whatever position he plays, whether he play. I mean, he was drifting out to the left yesterday rather, but obviously, he's a good player. But this is a rebuild, Mr. Potter, and that's why I think. For me, I think that I think people took that as I think he was downplaying it a little bit because he knew full well, because of the previous press conference, he said everything was so exciting and there's going to be exciting summer ahead and get on board and that type of thing. I think he almost went too far with that. We know there's going to be players leaving. We know there's going to be players coming in. But, I mean, as I said, I think last summer, there was a 21 man in and out, players in and out. So I think we're seeing something similar this summer at least. But I don't think it's going to be complete at all. I think it was Tim Steidten said he needed about 3 or 4 years for a complete squad rebuild. And I think this summer will be step one. Now the issue being is if you need the same infrastructure for the next few years in order to complete that squad, and then obviously that squad is built in the likeness of the head coach, which could be the issue. Which could be the issue if Potter doesn't deliver next season. Then obviously you've got the 18-month break clause at the end of next season. So although it's important to get players in that he wants, you've got to have, any sensible person will have one foot on the other side of the fence just in case. In terms of, you don't go too far down a cul-de-sac. But then the flip side, I think I'm talking myself out of it, because the flip side is actually you want to give the best possible chance to the head coach. The way I see next season, it's this. I mean, we're going to have to hit the ground running on the 1st of June, aren't we? We're going to have to, particularly because then there's a sort of week or 10-day gap in the middle of June, and it starts again. And then you've only got a few more weeks in pre-season. We need, and we've said it a million times, we need our summer transfer stuff done as soon as possible to give those guys the best pre-season possible, the most pre-season games, the most preparation they can in terms of the squad. Last year we had the same issue. We said the same thing: rebuild. We need to get our stuff done early, but we know we won't. We can say we need to get our stuff early. It makes perfect sense, but we know we won't. We know we'll be hanging on, and then the end of July, going into August, we're still buying players. Going into August, we'll still be buying players. 31st of August, I think the deadline's the 1st of September this year. But even so, we'd still be buying players. We never learn, but we've never learned. But for me, I'm trying to think more, trying to choose my words. Because people comment on anything I say. Oh, you said this. It is a rebuild. Is it to not exaggerate the point, is it the most important summer transfer window we've had in our, say, recent Premier League history? I think it is. I think we've seen in the last 100 days, 101 days, that form-wise, we're if it wasn't for those bottom three, we'd have been really in trouble. We've been really in trouble under Lopetegui as well, and maybe that would have potentially pushed the dial quicker for him to go, if we were already languishing around the bottom of the league. But I feel like we're on the edge of a cliff at the moment, and it's exciting and worrying at the same time. It could go one of two ways. And for me, obviously, I think my nature, the way I am, it tends to go the more positive way, but it could also fall off the cliff as well. We seem to be in the stands split. We seem to be on the pitch split. We seem to be in the boardroom split as well. We led to believe that Danny Krasinski isn't having any sort of say on the summer signings, although he has to sign off everything that's over £1 million anyway. It's part and parcel. But in terms of bringing players to the table, so to speak, people who he's apparently having no say in summer transfer. Makes me nervous. But that is nervous excitement or nervous worry. They're two very similar emotions. But the question I want to give you guys today, I want a number. How many players, by the time we kick off the new season, how many of this current squad will be gone? Just a number. Just figure it out on your fingers. I'm going to say 7. I'm going to say 7 players. Put in the comments what you think, and then we'll review it. Just a bit of fun. Yeah, I think 7. And for a 25-man squad, 7. Does that constitute a rebuild? I think it does. Anyway, enough of my morning musings today. Have a great rest of the day, peeps, and I'll see you soon. Much love. Bye. Bye.